Do you remember the time back in April of 2019 when the world was still shaking hands and this movie came out and then they did this and it broke everyone? We still didn't know what happened in Budapest,
Budapest?
and when they announced that there's going to be a solo film, it became a light at the end of a tunnel. Well, guess what? It's 2021 and Black Widow has finally released. So in this video, I'll be reviewing the Black Widow movie and I'll be expanding upon the one crucial point that broke the film. We got what we wanted but not what we needed. And while you're here, do hit the subscribe and the bell button to keep up with all new videos. Let's get it on. I don't know who needs to hear this, but Black Widow wasn't that great of a film. I understand why people are calling it the best Marvel movie ever made, and partly the reason behind that is because of the delay. I mean, Black Widow was a hype masterpiece, but that's all it was. Marvel just gave us exactly what we wanted, but didn't sufficiently do justice to Natasha. Black Widow does tick all the boxes that makes a Marvel movie, well, a Marvel movie. Lot of humor,
Ugh, that was disgusting.
lightheartedness,
I don't slouch.
over-the-top action sequences, heavy CGI, deep human moments, iconic scenes, the works. So this movie is by no means a bad movie. If you like all other Marvel movies, you'll definitely like Black Widow. And that is exactly the problem. This movie shouldn't be a filler movie that was made only for the sake of it, but rather a movie that pays tribute to the character of Natasha. And that is why this movie didn't do such a good job. The film starts off strong, showing us the full relationship between Yelena, Melina, Alexei and Natasha. And then they show us a really long and arguably the best intro I have ever seen in the movie, showing us a montage of how the Red Room operates. I felt that the intro was so appropriate because it was dark and it's exactly how I'd expect it to be, considering that the Black Widow history is really depressing, so it sets this movie up brilliantly. Black Widow also felt like a really good ode to family. Natasha keeps talking about her Avengers family and her family in this movie, and it was carried out really beautifully considering the fact that all Black Widows are forcibly taken from their homes at a young age and are given involuntary hysterectomies, and that the one man she actually loved left her. So her emotions for others and others' emotions thereof felt really powerful and much needed for Natasha. We are also for the first time introduced to Yelena Belova, played by Florence Pugh. And her character was arguably the most important and consequential to the film. I say this because by now we know that the mantle of Black Widow will be carried forward in the MCU by her, so the film lays the groundwork for her really well. Florence Pugh also plays Yelena really brilliantly, and hers is the only character that feels that it actually needs to be in the film. Unlike the others, I also didn't feel that her humor was misplaced and that her character had a lot more depth. I also got the feeling that the film focuses on Yelena much more than it focuses on Natasha, so much so that the sole purpose of making the film was only to introduce her to us, so that felt misplaced. We are also introduced to three new characters, and I call these three out together because these are arguably the most disappointing characters in the entire film. Alexei, also known as the Red Guardian, Dreykov, who is supposed to be the main villain, and Taskmaster. The main reason why I think Alexei is disappointing is because his character wasn't used the way it could have been used at all. He is supposed to be the first Soviet super soldier, and the only way we actually know that is because he can defeat everyone at arm wrestling. He was of no use in any of the combat scenes, and frankly the movie would have turned out exactly the same even without him being in it. His character also felt like a real betrayal to the audience because he didn't live up to the expectations set up by the many trailers and snippets that were released by Marvel, indicating that he's going to be a major character. The only way that we are brought closer to the Red Guardian is because he is the Soviet version of Captain America, so the audience kind of rests his reputation based off of Steve Rogers. I believe that the movie could have done so much more with the Red Guardian, considering that he's a much more broken version of the righteous Captain America, but he was brought down to a mere level of a punching bag whom the movie wants us to feel sorry for. Moving on to the main villain in this film, General Dreykov. Now, General Dreykov's character is really interesting because we know that the Red Room is his project, and it is because of him that we have Natasha, and the movie also really vividly explains to us all the horrors that he has inflicted on all the Black Widows, but he was really pathetically shown on screen. What the movie managed to do was to make him absolutely disgusting and to make us plain hate him. But to make a good bad guy, you gotta ground the villain. Just by giving a villain all the villainous traits like genocide, world domination, ruthlessness, woman hater, it doesn't work. Even General Dreykov making his daughter Taskmaster doesn't work because he doesn't do it because he loves his daughter, but rather to get his own agenda fulfilled. A villain needs to have motive, which we weren't fully made aware of. and just by making someone bad because why not, doesn't give the audience a chance to develop a case for him. He was just merely a puppet master, and his total defeat in the end of the movie in a really grand manner made his image so weak. An interesting bit of trivia to add here is that this is the same Dreykov that Loki had mentioned in Avengers.
Dreykov's daughter, Sao Paulo, the hospital fire.
All clear.
The third character in this film who I find to be really disappointing is the one and only Taskmaster. I actually find the premise of Taskmaster to be really brilliant. I mean, a villain who fights the good guys by mimicking their every move. Genius! Kinda reminds me of how I used to play chess against the computer by copying its every move. The reason Taskmaster was disappointing was the way her character was handled. Unlike Winter Soldier, where they did an extraordinary job in invoking fear of him before he was even showed on screen, in Black Widow, that component of building a formidable foe was removed as soon as Taskmaster was shown in all its glory. They didn't lay any groundwork beforehand that made the audience fear what was going to come, they just handed it over to us. This is my only criticism that I have of Taskmaster. All the other story behind her and what Natasha did to her all added up to a really awesome ending fight scene. Black Widow is really similar and shares a lot of notes with Moonraker, which we have already seen Natasha watching in the film, Captain America, the Winter Soldier and the Bourne trilogy. While the similarities to Moonraker are quite obvious, a floating fortress in the sky, a formidable henchman of the main villain, the similarities to Captain America and the Winter Soldier and the Bourne trilogy are quite subtle, and this subtlety comes from the way this movie was made. We see that Black Widow, Captain America, the Winter Soldier and the Bourne trilogy are all movies of espionage and counter-espionage, but I take no joy in saying that Black Widow was the worst of the lot. While it did live up to its expectations of any typical MCU film, it lacked the many nuances that makes any spy film great, which makes Black Widow no doubt an entertaining watch, but will never be considered as the next best spy film. The action sequences in this movie were brilliant. It's the Marvel signature, over-the-top fight scenes that no one will think of. You can't expect anything less from the world's largest film studio. But then again, that's the point. This film does not require such large-scale action. I'm not talking about the fact that spy films in general do not require large-scale explosions. Black Widow in particular does not need it. Why? Because we know how Natasha dies. All the action sequences in the movie that include Natasha feels hollow, because that element of who's going to die is taken away. It didn't matter how dangerous it all got, we still know Natasha survives. And this is exactly what I mean by we got what we wanted but not what we needed. We needed to see a film where the focus was on Natasha and that she was given the value that she deserves. But rather we saw a film where the focus was on the audience and on Yelena. This film is great to all those who haven't seen the other MCU films and who haven't followed the journey of Natasha from Iron Man 2 to Endgame. But to the MCU fans, Black Widow was kinda disappointing. And the occasional shoddy CGI, repetitive action scenes, and the mistimed humor does nothing for the film.
You don't have earpiece.
Overall, I would say that Black Widow is a really entertaining watch with a lot of memorable moments, but lost its focus somewhere along the way. And with that, I give this film a 6 out of 10. Thank you all for watching. Comment down below what did you think of Black Widow, or if you disagree with me, and also comment down below which movie you would like to see me review next. And I'll catch you all in the next video.